Welcome back to Breakdown. Today is Thursday, November the 2nd, 2023. SEC versus the Big Ten. Football season is rolling hot and heavy right about now, JJ. You want to break it down?
We might as well.
Okay, but before we get into football, let's talk about a sad thing that happened in the world of athletic, Bobby Knight.
Yeah, Bobby Knight, one of the greatest basketball coaches of any caliber, any class. He passed away at the age of 83 last night. He's one of the greatest coaches. He coached Indiana for, I think, 29 years. He won 5 championships. And he was just a legend in the sport. His coaching tree is unmatched. He coached Mike Krzyzewski at West Point, and he's taught him all he knows. So it's just
is his team the last team to go undefeated?
His team is the last team to go undefeated. Kentucky almost did. They made it to the the Final Four and lost to Wisconsin. But his is the last team to go undefeated.
Very impressive. I remember that team had a lot of stars on it. Bobby Knight, his career ended kind of down.
Yeah, in controversy, and that's how his career persisted as well.
That's true. But rest in peace, General.
Yeah, rest in peace indeed to Bobby Knight.
All right. JJ, you want to talk a little football?
Yeah, let's transition over to the pigskin.
Okay. College football playoff rankings came out recently.
Yeah, the first one of the season came out.
Yeah.
Just like everyone expected.
You had all the 1 through 5, I'm sure, right? Just in order that they were delivered.
Well, no, I actually would have reversed 1 and 2, but I thought Michigan would come in 3.
Well, let's talk about 1 and 2. Who were the top 3?
The top three. Well, this is a Big Ten and SEC podcast, video cast, and it was all Big Ten and SEC. Number 1 was Ohio State. Number 2 was Georgia. Number 3 was University of Michigan.
Okay. And you said you would have reversed 1 and 2?
Yeah, I still would have put Georgia number 1 over Ohio State. I know Ohio State has, more marquee wins. They've beaten Penn State. They've beaten Notre Dame.
Exactly.
But Georgia has not lost. They've won the last 2 national championships, and I can't even remember the last time they lost. I think you have to, until the champ has to be unthroned, and they have not been unthroned to me.
Well, they were the champs from last year. This year, there is no champ. This is just my take on it. There is no champ until they play that championship game. But I see where you're coming from. Should be interesting.
I think that's motivation for Georgia. I think Kirby Smart loves that he didn't start the college football playoff rankings number 1.
Is Ohio State happy to be ranked number 1 to begin?
Oh, yeah, because that gives them leverage. That lets them know, they could potentially lose a game and still make it to the college football playoff, starting off number 1.
That's true. And I would say that not because of where they're ranked, but because of the marquee wins that they've had. They've already had 2 marquee wins. I don't think there's any other team out there who can say that. Washington may be close.
Oh, yeah. Washington has some marquee wins with Oregon and...
was it Utah?
Utah, yeah.
But I would it's good, but yeah, given that they could lose and still make it. Georgia. If Georgia lose, are they out?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough meat on that schedule. They don't play in the SEC West. This is one of the last years for division. Is it the last year for divisions?
In the West, yes.
Yeah. So
in the SEC.
Florida's down. Tennessee is not what they were. Kentucky isn't ranked. The SEC East doesn't have a lot of meat on its bone. Speaking of the SEC East, Georgia does play Missouri this week.
All right, we'll get to that in a moment, though.
Okay.
But we got one more team in the college football playoff that we want to talk about. We talked about the 1 and the 2. And number 3?
The number 3 team is the team that I thought would be number 3. The team that's the best team in the country. That would be your Michigan Wolverines.
Let me ask you this, JJ. You just told me that if Georgia lose, they wouldn't make the playoff. If Michigan loses, will Michigan make the playoff?
Well, no, they find themselves in a similar situation to Georgia as it pertains to their schedule. There's not a whole lot of meat on it. Now, they will play Penn State and Ohio State, so assuming they win one of those games, that's a little bit different. That'll be a better win than whoever Georgia plays before they play the the championship.
Would be a better win. Okay, you said before they play in the championship.
The SEC,
okay.
the conference
Okay.
championship. But Georgia will be playing the conference championship,
Exactly.
unlike Michigan if they were to lose to Ohio State. Now, if they were to lose to Penn State and beat Ohio State, that would create a whole another scenario, which would I don't know who would get in at that point, but that would create like a round robin scenario. But maybe Michigan could make it, but there's not a lot of meat on their schedule, and unfortunately for Michigan, there's also the whole Connor Stalions spying investigation thing. I don't think a lot of voters would want to vote for them.
Let's move into that.
If they were to lose.
Let's move into that. This week, what has been the biggest college football story? Has it been the college football playoff rankings, or has it been your Michigan Wolverines?
It's not my Michigan Wolverines, but I was just saying that. I was saying the royal we. Yeah, so that's the obviously biggest story is the Michigan situation because it's not something that every year there's a first team ranked. The first year of the college football playoff, Mississippi State was number 1 and Mississippi was number 2.
Okay.
Neither one of them ended up making the college football playoff. At the end of the day, who knows what's going to happen? There's a lot of season left to play. This Michigan thing is a huge issue. There was a conference call recently between all the schools.
Between all the Big Ten schools.
All the Big Ten schools. A conference call between all the schools in the conference.
Right.
And Jim Harbaugh left early so they could speak openly about him. And there was a lot of people vehemently advocating for Michigan to face punishment swift, fast and in a hurry. They want that punishment delivered before the season ends. And the college football playoff already announced that they're not incentivized to do so. That their job is to assess the football played on the field. And they said Michigan is worthy of number 3 spot. So
okay, and as far as punishment goes, that would most likely be something that only the Big Ten could do prior to any bowl playoff or anything like that, because the Big Ten does have a sportsmanship clause in their bylaws or laws or whatever that could address that. But JJ, a lot of people saying that you shouldn't punish Michigan nor Jim Harbaugh until after the investigation is complete. How come that's not the case for Connor Stallion? He's already been dismissed.
Well, maybe there's enough to prove an internal investigation that he has, done some things. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think you need more information to make that assessment at this point.
To make what assessment?
What type of punishment is going to be dealt out to the University of Michigan?
Okay.
Yeah.
Where should the buck stop involving Stallion? Should it stop with Stallion?
Maybe. I don't know the information. It depends on what comes out.
Okay. Okay, maybe. Who's responsible for Stallion?
Well, I would say whoever hired him and allowed him to be so close to Michigan's defensive coordinator and to Jim Harbaugh and all those people. I mean, why don't you answer your own question? What do you have to say about that?
Hey, what about? Be more specific. Ask me the question you want to ask me.
The question you just asked yourself.
Who's
responsible for Connor Stalions?
Okay, I just want to make sure I know. To me, the buck stopped with the head man.
Okay.
Of the football program. That's my take on it. If it's gonna stop, I remember Kentucky had something where an assistant coach mailed some money. This was years ago. Mailed some money to a recruit. It ended up costing the head coach as well, not just the assistant coach. So I think there is something that this has been going on as long as it has, and as openly as it has. U of M should be in trouble for two reasons. Number one, I hate to use these words, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The sheer stupidity of how this happened, the paper trail that was left. We're talking about a very highly educated person leaving such a wide paper trail. And two, they should be punished if they didn't know anything about it. If Harbaugh didn't know anything about this, then they should be punished. That's my take on it. But JJ, I got a question I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Before I ask you this question, let me just point out a few things. Since Connor Stallion, the 3 years of his stealing thing has been going on, U of M is 33
Mm-hmm.
The 3 years prior to that, U of M 21-11. Is that coincidental?
I'm not sure.
Well, this is my question I'm going to ask you. Should Michigan's previous 2 wins against Ohio State have an asterisk next to them?
If people want to put them there, sure. I'm not going to do so, but
Okay. So you would not. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, that was my question. And you don't think Michigan should be punished prior to the bowl, correct?
I think that whatever verdict, I think once they've, collected all the information that they're going to collect, and once they, assess everything that they're going to assess, they can release whatever, decision that they want to. I don't care how that aligns with the bowl, but
Let me ask you a question, man. This is something that I have thought about, and I have some ideas. I'm gonna see if you have any ideas. The NCAA was given information from a private investigation firm.
okay.
Now, investigation firms usually investigate things after they've been hired to investigate things.
Okay.
Who might have been someone to have hired this investigative firm to investigate Michigan and their sign still?
I don't know.
You don't have a clue.
No,
I don't have a clue either, but I have an idea.
Okay, what idea would that be?
As Bo Schembechler would say, that school down south. He didn't call their name, and I ain't gonna call no names either. I'm gonna be like Bo. That school down south might have hired a private investigating firm to conduct an investigation of Michigan.
Well, I mean,
And you know what? And that wouldn't be unprecedented because Alabama and Auburn has done that to each other, and resulting in each team being punished by the NCAA.
yeah, I mean, all's fair and nothing more. So
I guess when Michigan and Ohio State hook up, it's war.
all I know is when they play this year, that's going to be. I'm gonna have the popcorn ready for that game. That's gonna be at the big house. I think a lot of frustrations will be released in that day.
You have the popcorn. I'll have the beverage.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, JJ. We talked about U of M. I mean, is there more you want to add?
No, nothing in particular. Just that. I thought it was interesting and notable that the college football playoff is basically going to leave things up to the NCAA and to the conference to do something because Michigan holds such weight in the conference.
Well, I agree with the college football playoff committee. It's not their job to do stuff like that. I mean, look at in previous ones, champions have won games and then had them taken away, years later.
Well, to quote Cam Newton in 2010, like they say, it's an ongoing investigation.
Okay.
If you're an Auburn fan, what do you think about that 2010 season?
Hey, it was a dream season.
Now, does the fact that there was an ongoing investigation about how he got
from
that
an Auburn perspective,
from Mississippi State,
from an Auburn perspective, it was a dream season. But JJ, one thing I want to say about the U of M.
I think this might be a dream season for Michigan.
This is the one thing I want to say about them. And it kind of reminds me of Brandon Miller, Alabama's basketball player.
Oh, it does. Does it now?
Obviously, it's not to the severity of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's not funny. Man.
No. I'm sorry. That was a comparison I was not expecting.
Well, let me elaborate if I might.
Okay.
If I might. And obviously, as I said, it has nothing to do. I mean, that was a really dreadful situation there. But this is my point. This is my point. It took a lot of focus away from Brandon Miller. His stats went down precipitously. In the college playoff, he was like 0 for 20.
Okay, but
at some point in time, and this is what I'm about to say. If I just get to say this, then you can refute what I'm going to say. I think all of that stuff kind of took away his focus because it kept dragging on and on and on, and that's my take on it. What you got to say?
I don't think it has anything. I don't think it's anything in any way comparable to the Brandon Miller situation. I don't agree with any of that.
You don't think the focus, the constant the constant focus of this can distract U of M players at all?
No, but I do remember Brandon Miller having more than 40 points in like the game after where his verdict was announced when that he wasn't a suspect no longer, and then it was on the road against a hostile
in one
road
game.
environment.
I agree, but
I think a freshman not performing in the NCAA tournament is a little bit different than But I don't want to even bring that in. I just would like to move on from that, please.
Well, I just want to clarify my point. What I'm talking about is that I do believe that this Stallion thing can become a distraction for the U of M players because it's not going to go away. It's going to be there. And so they're going to have to deal with it. And after, there's still 4 more weeks left in the season. After 4 weeks and then whatever time in between, that's all they're going to be hearing. That's my point. Okay, let's move on.
Certainly an opinion.
Let's move on.
Okay.
4-2 now.
Well, moving on from, Bob Knight to the college football playoff.
We can talk about this coming week's games.
Yeah, let's talk about this upcoming week's schedule.
Can I start off with Michigan State, my alma mater?
Okay.
They're on a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Their last game in Spartan Stadium this year will be Saturday. Who are they playing, JJ? They are playing Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska. That's the last opportunity for a win.
Nebraska's pretty much setting themselves to be bowl eligible. No one thought Nebraska would be nearly as good as they're being right now. Nebraska's over and under to start the year. It was 6 games. They're over and under, but they have a possibility to do far better than that. How do you see the Michigan State Nebraska game?
I see Nebraska becoming bowl eligible. They're 5-3 right now. After the Michigan State game, I expect them to be 6-3 very comfortably. Michigan State has kind of tucked in their tail. They haven't been competitive really since Mel Tucker has been away from the program, except for in the Rutgers game where they let in the fourth quarter Rutgers scored 15 points. I don't, I think their defensive back just announced that he's, in the transfer portal. I think it's a.
Well, they had. I watched the game. I forget the guy who had said he was going to transfer defensive tackle. He was going to transfer, and then he decided to come back. He came back. I watched him a lot in last week's game. He was shot. I really didn't think in the first half. I didn't think Michigan players gave up. I just didn't think they have any depth. In the second half, I think they gave up, and I think this team may not be playing games with their hearts anymore. Time will tell. Time will tell. But I agree with you. I think Nebraska will win this game, and they will become bowl eligible. Let's go to the SEC.
Yeah, let's go to the SEC West in particular.
Well, I want to go to the East first. I want to say the West for last.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the East. Number 1 against number 2 this weekend at noon. Georgia against Missouri. Georgia's a 15-point favorite in that game. Missouri's lost 1 game. Missouri's biggest win is probably Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, probably Kansas State or Kentucky, one of those two.
I'm going to say Kansas State. Does Missouri have a shot in this game? Last year, you remember the game, Missouri and Georgia from last year?
That was one of the games that Missouri almost beat Georgia.
That close.
Yeah.
That close. Can they get over that hump this year?
No, they will not be giving over that hump this year, but I like Missouri to be the 3rd best team in the SEC East after Tennessee.
Would you give 15 points?
That's a good question. I mean, Missouri does play them pretty tough for the most part. I would take Georgia to cover that 15 points. What would you take?
I'd take 15 points if you want to give me. But let's talk about the game for next week between the SEC and the Big Ten and in the SEC. LSU and Bama. This is an unofficial start to the college playoff for Alabama. This is a big game.
They can't afford to lose it.
They're at home against LSU. LSU already lost 2 games. They can't afford to lose another game.
No, the quarterback who's one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy, he really can't lose another game either.
It's been performing well. I mean, their losses has not been Daniel's fault.
No, I
mean, for my money, he is the Heisman Trophy winner right now. 3 points though, JJ.
Yeah, 3 points.
Is Alabama 3 points better? They're at home.
I don't, and not only do I not think that they're 3 points better at home, I pick LSU to win on the road.
Okay. That'd be a great game. It'd be a great game. LSU doesn't have a defense, man.
Yeah.
They don't have a defensive backfield. I mean, their defensive backs are their injuries, number one.
That's true.
And they just
They're not the tallest corners and safeties. They're a little undersized.
Yeah. Even though their offense is better than Alabama, there's two sides to the ball. I would give those 3 points and take Alabama in this game.
Well, if Jaden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner, he will have his Heisman Trophy moment against Nick Saban this weekend. So
I agree. JJ.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's pretty much it for this week.
Okay, this is episode number 99, JJ.
It is episode number 99.
You got to come back for number 100. Ready to get out of here?
I'm ready to go.
Let's get out of here.
Who that?
Who Pig Suey?
Who that?